Now, I may be from small town America, and I may have worked in a dairy, but there are certain beliefs I learned that I thought were universal. A penny saved is a penny earned. A watched pot never boils. A day's pay for a day's work. Lately, my head's been spinning at the number and the enormity of the scandals coming out of the Obama White House. But with the latest one, I think my head actually did a complete 360. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for joining us tonight. This week, we find out that the IRS employees are getting an extra $70 million in bonuses. You heard me right, 70 million hard-earned taxpayers' dollars. Now, why even give them bonuses? Our government is collapsing under the weight of federal spending, but not just spending, irresponsible, unnecessary, and foolish spending. Money for programs destined for failure, like Solyndra. Money to countries that hate us and burn us in effigy, like Libya. And money to people who come here to live off the fat of our land and then kill us. It's our money. Why give it to people who are already paid an agreed upon salary? Why? Because they're in a union? Now, without getting into the history of unions, they were formed when conditions in America were unsafe and life-threatening. Unless you think working for the IRS is life-threatening, I don't understand why these people are even unionized. But that ignores the political reality of paybacks in Washington, doesn't it? Now, I worked in law enforcement for 30 years, and I worked my butt off, sometimes 24/7. When I left, I never got a bonus. I didn't even get that watch that people talk about. But these IRS bozos, they're spending our hard-earned money entertaining themselves at $50 million conferences, the receipts for which they cannot even produce, line dancing like a bunch of fools, and dressing up like they're Spock in a Star Trek movie. The people who can't wait to audit you, the people who can't wait to intimidate you, waste away our money while they squeeze every nickel and dime out of the rest of us. The IRS has proven itself to be a vindictive political weapon of this administration. Their targets based on the enemy or the victim of the moment. This moment, conservative, Tea Party, patriot, pro-Israel. I truly believe the average American is more afraid of the IRS than they are of Al-Qaeda. But our president, he's going to make them accountable.
If, in fact, IRS personnel engaged in the kind of practices that have been reported on and were intentionally targeting conservative groups, then that's outrageous. And there's no place for it. They have to be held fully accountable.
But, Mr. President, no one's been punished, fired, or even held responsible. You give even the people who ran the division targeting Americans the bonuses. Folks, what does that tell you about whether the White House directed the political targeting? That learned Lois Lerner, the head of the division targeting conservative groups, she gets a bonus. The woman who says she's not good at math, who appears before Congress and lies to them, and then returns to give self-serving statements, and then refuses to answer congressional oversight inquiries. She's on vacation this summer. And by the way, all of us are paying for it. And Sarah Hall Ingram, also part of the division targeting political enemies, now rewarded with a plum Obamacare implementation job. She's received 6-figure bonuses. I have a question. How do you decide who gets a bonus and for how much? If the IRS intimidates a political or a religious target to squeeze out more money, or intimidates the target who doesn't have the moxie or the money to go toe-to-toe with them, or a target whose whole life is destroyed because a civil audit is turned into a political one, or worse, a criminal one, and then leaked to the press. is the idea that if these bullies rack up enough money that a percentage then goes into their bonus? And what do you mean they only get bonuses if they substantially exceed expectations? What? Did you hire a bunch of idiots and now you're so shocked they're doing an okay job you want to reward them? If someone is lucky enough to work for and represent the United States government, they should be competent as hell to begin with. And yesterday, though, we hear the Treasury Inspector General reports the IRS sent out $46 million in federal tax refunds to almost 24,000 unauthorized alien workers, and all to the same address. How could these people exceed expectations and not realize that almost 24,000 checks went to the same address? Do these geniuses really think 24,000 people live in one house? I have an idea. Why not put the NSA on the IRS for their ingenious but allegedly non-existent metadata collection to figure out what a third grader could figure out in a minute? But I digress. So who agreed to these bonuses? Who negotiated them? The answer? The IRS and their employees, of course. But wait a minute. I'm the sucker who's paying for this. Why wasn't I at the table? And why so much money? Did they bring a mask and a gun to the contract negotiation? Look, police officers put their lives on the line every day. They don't get bonuses. Firemen run into burning buildings to save us, and we don't pay them nearly enough to live. Military men and women come home with limbs blown off and invisible injuries like TBI or PTSD. We don't give them bonuses. Hell, we don't even take care of them. The Veterans Administration is at least a year behind in their compensation payments. Half of the homeless in this country are veterans, and the spouses of the injured, destined to be caretakers for the rest of their lives, they don't get a bonus. And you decide to give these IRS thugs a bonus? What's that? You say it's already been worked out? The Treasury Union President, Colleen Kelly, says the National Treasury Employees Union has had a negotiated performance awards program at the IRS for decades, pursuant to the law and regulations which specifically authorize agencies to implement such merit-based incentive programs. Really? A merit-based incentive program? You have to incentivize these people? How about they have a job with a salary? How about they get sick time, comp time, vacation time, holiday time, a pension, and health care? Mr. President, what is that? We are a nation of laws. We have to follow the rules. Well, how about you actually read the collective bargaining agreement? If there's a budget shortfall, you don't have to give them the money. We're going down economic tubes. Are the unions that powerful? It's time to put on your big boy pants and stand up to the bullies. You appointed this guy Werfel to head the IRS. Have him stand up and say, no bonuses this year, there's a shortfall. What are the unions going to do, sue you? You've got in over his head Holder, your Justice Department genius. He can handle it. Wouldn't it be a little more American to take that $70 million and give it to the men and women returning from your wars with fewer body parts than they left with? Even though my head is still sore from that 360 head spin, I still believe what I learned a long time ago in that small town. You get a day's pay for a day's work. Nothing more and nothing less.